Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and welcome to the day 2 of the SBL December 23 webinars to success. On the day 1, I had a look into the study strategy for the last 14 days. And on the day 2 of this webinar today, I'll be investigating the time management effective September 23 exams. So let's open the day 2 of the webinar and let's investigate the time management which you should be following in your December 23 exams. Okay, the time management in SBL effective September 23. Now, since September 23 exams, we know that the total time of SBL exam is now 195 minutes. That is 3 hours and 15 minutes. It's no more a 240 minutes exam or no more a 4-hour exam. So it's 195 minutes exam, which is parallel and something consistent with all the strategic level papers now. Now, how to utilize this 195 minutes? How would you ensure you have given a good split of the reading and planning time and the writing time? The number of tasks in SBL are now just 3. So 3 tasks in 195 minutes. So the tasks are now 3. So the number of tasks have been reduced down since September 23 exams. The number of exhibits in SBL, which you will be reading on the day of the real exam, are now just 4. So you will have 4 exhibits to read on the day of exam, and these 4 exhibits are to be read within the 195 minutes you have. So number of exhibits have gone down, the number of tasks has gone down, which are favorable impacts on the student psyche. The time has gone down in correlation with the task going down and the number of exhibits going down. So less reading on the day of exam, and it's more about executing a good answer. Plenty of information and familiarity already exist with students because they have done through the pre-scene ahead of their December 23 exams. So because you have read through the pre-scene, you know the organization, you know the risk of the organization, you know the profile of the organization, you know a lot of things about industry. So that will save a lot of time on the day of exam when you're reading through just the 4 exhibits within 195 minutes. So because a lot of information already exists in your mind, a lot of familiarity with the organization and the industry already exists within your mind. You're very familiar with the terminologies being used in, so that will eventually boost the efficiency or effectiveness when you're reading through the 4 exhibits provided to you on the day of the actual exam paper. Each task will connect to a specific exhibit. So it is not to read all exhibits at one go. So you're not reading all the exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4 at one go. You will just be reading the specific exhibit when you're answering a specific task. And I'll just be demonstrating that. So it could be possible that you open the task number 1 and the answer of the task number 1 lies in the exhibit number 1. So you'll only be reading the exhibit number 1 while answering the task number 1. So that will save a lot of time rather than reading all the exhibits at the first go and then starting to read the task 1, 2, and 3. It used to be the case when the paper was 4 hours. Now this is no more the case. Every task will connect to a specific exhibit. So you will read only that exhibit and you will connect that with your task 1 answer. The pre-scene content will definitely help you in terms of writing a good answer as well. So your retention of pre-scene is also important. But if you forget the pre-scene somewhere in exam, you can refer back to it because it will be given in your actual exam as well. So this is how things looks like. We need to see the utilization of 195 minutes with an example from a specimen exam, just to tell you how to break this 195 minutes into the 3 tasks, where you have the reading and planning time as well as the writing time. Let's see how to utilize 195 minutes. Utilization of 195 minutes. From 195 minutes, deduct 5 minutes. Deduct 5 minutes? I'll just be demonstrating why. Why are we deducting 5 minutes from 195 minutes? I'll just be giving you an example. So we are left with 190 minutes. and we have 100 marks. I'm not splitting into technical and professional marks. I'm taking things in absolute form to make a very easy formula for the students. So you have 100 marks and you have 190 minutes. So that is 1.9 minutes per mark. Now, this 1.90 minutes per mark includes the reading and planning, because you have to read the exhibits on the day of exam and the requirement. And this also includes the writing time. Now, how would you bifurcate this 1.90 between reading and planning and the writing time? Because there are two things to be read and planned. Number one, the task. Number two, the specific exhibit. Then you come down writing the answer. I'll just give you an example. Look at the total marks per task. Suppose you open the task number 1 and there are like 20 marks for it or 10 marks for it. Multiply it by 1.90 to find the total time you have for each task. So look at the total marks you have per task and then multiply that with the 1.90 to find how much total time you have for each task. Now, once you find the total time, for example, you have a 10 marks task. So that means you have a total of 19 minutes to do that whole task. Now, the 19 minutes includes the reading and planning as well as the writing time. So how would you go about it? 1/4 of the time is always kept for reading and planning, and that is a journal rule of thumb in ACCA papers. And 3/4 of the time is kept for writing. And we always use this rule of thumb, 1/4, 3/4. So the total time you have, out of that, 1/4 is reading and planning, 3/4 is writing. So look at the task mark, multiply that by 1.90, find the total time. Out of that total time, 1/4 is for reading and planning and 3/4 is for writing. Let's do a demonstration for a better understanding what I'm trying to say. And why am I deducting 5 minutes? I'll just need to show you that. Okay, just let's go to the practice platform. I hope you can see the practice platform on your screen now. This is the specimen 1 for September 23 exams. So because from September 23, there were some changes in SBL in terms of the paper format, the time going down, the number of tasks going down, and the exhibits going down. So ACC published specific specimen exams from September 23 onwards, specimen 1 and 2. I'm looking at the specimen 1, which was around the Peel Sleep Solutions, PSS. Now, this is the first screen you will see on the day of exam. 195 minutes start from this screen. You have 10 minutes for reading, 10 minutes for reading the instructions. That's up to you. You want to read the instructions. You don't want to read the instructions. If you think you're familiar with the instructions, you will just press next, 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 till the time you start your actual exam. The moment you start your actual exam, this particular screen, the timer for 195 minutes now starts. Now, 195 minutes. And why are we deducting the first 5 minutes? Because in the first 5 minutes, I just need to read through this information right here. And then in that 5 minutes, I also need to plan how much time I have for the task number 1 for 34 minutes. So I will be reading through this information, which I've just highlighted in blue, that Peel Sleep Solution is a company which manufactures bed mattresses in Zealand. You are an independent financial analyst. So I know, okay, I am an independent financial analyst in the case study. That is my role. It is currently September 20x3. So anywhere I need to use the dates, I'll be using the date September 20x3. The following exhibits are available on the left-hand side of the screen. So examiner is telling me that there are 4 exhibits available on the left-hand side of the screen. The first exhibit is contract terms to supply the bed mattress. So anything where I need to talk about any contractual terms, I would be referring to exhibit number 1. The exhibit 2 is about staff survey. So anything about staff survey will be referred to exhibit 2. Email from the human resource director about staff training and development. So anything which needs to be referred to staff training and development will go to exhibit number 3. And email from the finance director in exhibit 4. Issues identified by the audit and risk committee. So any requirement addressing the issues identified by audit and risk committee, I need to refer to the exhibit 4. The pre-seen information is already available on the left-hand side of the screen if you want to utilize that, and that finishes off the screen. This is taking the first 5 minutes. I'm reading through, seeing what examiner is telling me before I just go down on the left side and start looking at the task and the exhibit. Now, I opened up my calculator and I open up I look at the task number 1. The task number 1 has 34 marks. So I'll put on my calculator 34 multiplied by 1.90. So the total time I have for task 1 is 64.6. So rounding it off, it's like 65 minutes I have for the task number 1. So out of the 65 minutes, I'll divide it by 4. I have 16 minutes to read and plan. 16 minutes to read and plan the task number 1, in which I will be reading through the task, understanding the task, and then reading the specific exhibit from where the answer to task number 1 comes from. 16.15 minutes, I'm taking 16 minutes. So I had 65 minutes minus 16 minutes. So I'm left with 49 minutes to write up my answer. So I know my total time now for the task number 1. So the task number 1 is for 34 marks. The total time I have is, just need to make a correction here. This will be 65 minutes. I have 65 minutes of the total time, multiplying that by 1.90. Out of that, I have 16 minutes to read and plan, and I have 49 minutes to write up my answer. Now, this is all taking up the 5 minutes, right? So the 5 minutes is to read the screen on the right, and the 5 minutes is for using the calculator and finding how much time I have for this particular task. And this 5 minutes includes the time you have for task 2 and task 3 to use the calculator. So that is why I've deducted the first 5 minutes from it. Now, you know I have sheet and plan, and you look at the task number 1, you open it up, the task number 1, and you start reading through the task number 1, and it will tell you that you need to prepare a report for the board of directors, which evaluates the opportunities and challenges. So you need to evaluate the opportunities and challenges which ESS must consider in relation to the proposed contract with Zealand Health. So this answer will come from Exhibit 1 because we have a proposed contract given in Exhibit number 1, contract terms to supply the bed mattress. So that means I just need to read the task number 1. I just need to read the exhibit number 1 for my task number 1 answer. So this is how you can pick up which exhibit to connect with. There will be a hint. See, proposed contract with Zealand, and I immediately look on the left-hand side. I found contract terms to supply bed mattress. So that's the exhibit linking with. You go to the next part. It says the chief executive is aware that the contract with Zealand. So again, the task 1B is also talking about the contract with Zealand. So the answer to task 1B will also come from the contract with Zealand exhibit. So 1A and 1B, the answer of that lies within the exhibit number 1. An examiner will use these words, proposed contracts. So you will immediately pick that which of the exhibit is discussing contract. So 1A and 1B, the answer of that lies in exhibit number 1. So in 16 minutes, I need to read through the whole task right over here. I need to read and plan the task number 1. I've already demonstrated in my previous webinars how you read and plan. So you know the mechanism of reading and planning. And in the first 16 minutes, you're also opening the exhibit number 1, and you're reading through the exhibit number 1, and you are identifying relevant information from the exhibit number 1. Definitely, you'll open up the word processor and you will prepare yourself for answer to task number 1, and whichever relevant information you get in reading and planning, you will copy paste that relevant information in the first 16 minutes to your word processor. And once the 16 minutes is over, you have read the exhibit number 1, you've understood the requirement, and you have dumped some important information in the first 16 minutes to your word processor. Now in the later 49 minutes, you have to utilize that information which you have copy pasted, and you will utilize that information to explain a very good answer in 49 minutes, which is a very good time. So reading and planning consist of 2 things: reading and planning the task, understanding what to do, what are technical marks, how many points I need to write, also understanding the format to present the answer. and also understanding which exhibit to read, then reading that exhibit, identifying the relevant points, copy pasting them on the word processor, and preparing yourself for the writing time. I've demonstrated that in my previous webinars, how to go down copy pasting within the reading and planning time, and how to prepare yourself for the launch of the answer in the later 49 minutes. So it's extremely important that you understand the definition of reading and planning time per task. So I hope it's clear. You open up the task, you see the number of marks, you multiply that by 1.90, you take the 1/4 of that for reading and planning and 3/4 for writing, and then you start reading the task number 1 and the exhibit number 1. And after the end of the 16 minutes, you start writing the answer. Then you go to the next button. And on the next button, you will find the task number 2. The task number 2 is for 38 minutes. So you'll again open up the calculator and you say, okay, the task 2 is for 38 minutes. So I'll take my calculator again and I'll say, okay, 38 minutes this time. And for 38 minutes, I need to utilize 1.90. So that is, I have a total time of 72 minutes this time. From the 72 minutes, I have 18 minutes to read and plan, and 18 minutes to read and plan, and approximately 54 minutes to write. So 18 minutes to read and plan and 54 minutes to write up the answer. So I'll open the task 2, I'll read through it. Now the task 2 is telling us about human resource director and human resource director telling us about the annual staff survey. So there is something about the annual staff survey in the task 2, and I know there is an exhibit number 2 which says staff survey result. So this means this task will connect with the exhibit number 2. In the next part, it says the human resource director is wondering if PSS should consider introducing talent management program. Now this is changing. We have a new terminology, talent management program in the task 2B. In the task 2A, we have annual staff survey. We look at the left-hand side of the screen and we see staff survey result in exhibit number 2. And we see email from the human resource director. So that means 2 exhibits have to be used here. Exhibit number 2 for the task 2A and exhibit number 3 for task 2B, because the email from the human resource director will consist something about the talent management program, because it says the human resource director is wondering if PSS could consider introducing a talent management program. So the answer of that would definitely be in the email from the human resource director where he's wondering about that. So 2 exhibits being used here, 2 and 3. So in the 18 minutes of reading and planning time, you're reading through the task, understanding what to do, which exhibits to read, then reading through the 2 exhibits here, 2 and 3, and then preparing yourself for the launch of the answer in the later 54 minutes. In the same way, you go to the next button and you will see the new task on the new window. In the preceding version, we used to see all tasks on one windows, but in the newer version since September 23, each task comes on a new window. So you open up a new task 3, this time 28 marks. So 28 marks, again, you will multiply by 1.90. You will assign the reading and planning time, you'll find the writing time, whatever that is. The task 3 says the finance director has emailed you. So the finance director has emailed you, and look at the exhibit number 4. It says email from the finance director. So immediately pick that the answer to the task 3 only comes from one exhibit, which is exhibit number 4. Now that is proving that for each task, there is a specific exhibit. For task 1, we had the whole answer coming from the exhibit 1. For the task 2, we had 2 exhibits, 2 and 3, from where the answer was coming from. And for the task number 3, we only had 1 exhibit, task number 4. Now, when you're writing the answer, at the back of the mind, you had the information from the pre-scene. If you're a clever student, where possible, where you need it, you can use information from the pre-scene to set a good tone and to send a good message to the examining team that, see, I remember the pre-scene and I quoted something from the pre-scene. So it's not about forcefully quoting something from the pre-scene. Wherever possible, where needed, you can quote something from the pre-scene. So across your 100 marks answer, if there are some examples of your quoting things from pre-scene are available, you are putting a very impressive answer for the examining team. But if you have not even, if you've not touched upon pre-scene at all, that is not very good. Even though you could have written a good answer without touching the pre-scene, but if some extracts from pre-scenes have been taken and you remember something from the pre-scene and you brought that into your answer, that will really send a good message to your marking team, and the marking team will be happy. So it's not about forcefully doing it, but it's about where possible and where needed. So I hope you will benefit from this discussion about the time management, and I hope you're finding the relevance of why am I deducting 5 minutes, because 5 minutes is to read the screen on the right, and 5 minutes includes the every time I need to open up the calculator and multiply that by 1.90, then taking 1/4 and 3/4. So I've kept 5 minutes for that. So taking 1.90 minutes and going through it. Now, in the writing time, I need to put the right format, professional marks. In the writing time, I need to use the headings and subheadings. In the writing times, I need to structure the answer in the best possible manner. So all that will be taking time as well. So that is why I've not split reading. I'll not split the technical and professional marks. I've taken them accumulative and divided the total time with 100 marks. Now, how to excel on the professional marks, how to excel on professional marks when you're writing the answer. That is the day 3 agenda of this webinar. I hope you will understand this time management of 195 minutes minus the 5 minutes. You're left with 190 minutes. And then how you go about utilizing the 190 minutes in terms of task 1, 2, 3, using the calculator, finding the 1/4 and 3/4. I hope this will effectively help you in the last 14 days. When you sit down to practice, please ensure you stick to this time management effectively. 195 minutes starts from where the exam paper start. So the very first screen of the exam paper. It does not mean that it's starting from the part of instructions. A lot of times students get confused with that. Reading the instructions, you have 10 minutes extra. Now it's up to you. You don't want to read the instructions. You say next, 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 next. Should you want to start? Do you want to start the exam? Yes. And you start the exam. And from that point, 195 minutes is with you. So how to utilize 195 minutes is the time for the actual exam paper. Okay, so this is it from the day 2 of the webinar for December 23 SBL. I hope you will largely benefit from the time management being taught here, and you will effectively implement them in the next 14 days. Wish you all success. Take care. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.